Coming to get you, Barbara.
They're here.
Hey guys, this is Mike, and I'm here to do a review of the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, Leatherface. Okay, so as you can see, probably, I just woke up, watched the movie last night, wanted to do my immediate reaction then, but had to put it off just a little bit. Okay, first issue with it is, I've been looking forward to this movie for a while. Been doing a lot of articles for Arrow in the Head about it, and throughout the whole year that I was looking forward to it, it never dawned on me until I started watching the movie, just like, how could this possibly be a good movie? Now, it's not a bad movie, let me just say that, but we'll get into my exact rating and stuff like that in a bit, but it just dawned on me, how could this be a good movie? Because it has an interesting premise in the way that this new movie follows it's a prequel, yet another prequel to the original 1974 Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And in this prequel, we follow a teenage Leatherface who gets, when he was younger, he gets put in a mental institution, and now he or she breaks out, and so it's kind of like a road movie. All of these teenagers go trying to find their way back to their individual homes or whatever, and one of them, we don't know who, one of them is Leatherface. So it's kind of like a whodunit, but as some people more clever than me have said, it's a who gonna do it type thing. Get it? Waka waka. Anyway, so that is an interesting premise, like I said, but the thing is I started watching it, I'm like, how could this possibly be good? And it didn't end up being very good. Not bad, but not great. Because it's like Leatherface is mentally challenged, shall we say. And none of the kids who are potential Leatherfaces are mentally challenged. So, is just one of these kids going to randomly, develop mental retardation somewhere in this movie? Yeah, exactly. So, I might get into some spoilers later in this video, but as of right now, I'm going to try and keep it spoiler free. I'll warn everybody. But anyway, so the main issue with this movie is that the whodunit is lame. That's just never going to change my real opinion on that. Pretty lame. But also, it's not a good at all Chainsaw Massacre movie. There are some Chainsaw Massacre-esque moments that are kind of cool, but overall, as a fan of the Chainsaw Massacre movies, you'll watch this and be like, instead of giving you interesting, cool, oh, I never thought about it like that before, it'll give you more stuff like, okay, that's how you're gonna try and bridge this story to that one. And as a fan, you're just picking it apart, and you're just like, that doesn't, you're stretching bad. You're really stretching it here. That said, there are some cool, name drops and things like that, Sally and Franklin from the first movie, Hardesty, their dad is in it. He's never said by name, so that's a cool little bit of trivia to impress your friends with. The guy, when you eventually watch it, in the very first scene, Stephen Dorff, who plays the Sheriff Wydell from Devil's Rejects, he plays the rogue sheriff who's after the Sawyer family. Anyway, so his daughter gets killed at the very beginning of the movie. That's the inciting incident. So no spoilers there, but the guy she's with, who never is named, is Ted Hardesty, who's Sally and Franklin's dad. So it's kind of interesting, why not? Which brings up an interesting thing from the original Chainsaw Massacre, that it's like Sally and Franklin do not seem at all like brother and sister, but whatever. What are you gonna do? I always thought they were adopted, maybe brothers and sisters or something, but anyway. So there's some cool name dropping and stuff like that, but it really doesn't come across as a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie at all, which is a pretty big issue, but not really. I mean, okay, so let's get that out of the way. This movie is called Leatherface. It's a Chainsaw Massacre prequel. As a Texas Chainsaw Massacre prequel, it is bad. However, if taken in a totally different context, and if this was a standalone movie where at the end you're kind of like, well, that character ended up slightly being like Leatherface by the end, not a bad movie. That part would have been roll your eyes at, oh, way to rip off Chainsaw Massacre, but until the very end you wouldn't even think that, at all, ever. So taken as in a totally different context than what the movie actually is, this movie about a group of mental institution people, teenagers, who escape and go on road movie type thing, not bad. It's competently made, some weird editing choices and stuff like that, but whatever. It's competently made, it's interesting, it's pretty violent, but it's not over the, there's nothing really that sticks out. Especially after the original movies and even the Platinum Dunes remakes. I hate Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, but even the Platinum Dunes movies, at least their violence was really kind of hard hitting and upsetting, I guess you could say. Violence here, no, not so much. But even as taken as a movie just called Crazy Teenagers on the Run, it still has a pretty big issue that it's we're following around, we're trying to figure out who's going to end up being a criminal, one of the ultimate criminals of movie lore. And so it's we're following around a bunch of criminals wondering who's going to end up being a criminal at the end. It doesn't quite work. So we have to follow around a whole group of people who are just beating and murdering the shit out of people, which isn't necessarily bad. Movies like Devil's Rejects or Badlands or Natural Born Killers, we can follow around serial killers and just horrible people, but they have to be interesting. These characters weren't interesting. This movie has the same thing that most teen slashers have, which is that the actual teens are mostly just a collection of about 5 fairly boring characters. And it's we look forward to the Leatherface and the Leatherface family and, just substitute the villain for any of these other things. But it's very, very rare that the teenage cast of any given movie are the interesting characters of it. Usually very underwritten, cliche characters, and that's what they are here. Except on top of being just cannon fodder, they're also horrible murderers who just randomly will shoot waitresses in the face with shotguns and have sex on top of decomposing dead bodies and stuff, which sounds interesting. Granted, sounds pretty interesting, but and those parts are pretty cool, but overall it's just there is not a single person to care about in this movie. And like I said, that isn't an excuse, because Rob Zombie with Devil's Rejects and some of the other movies I mentioned, you can follow around bad people, horrendous people, and still care about them and still find them interesting. Not in this movie, unfortunately, but overall, like I said, it's competently made for the most part, and you'll get your murders and revenge and Steven Dorff, actually, I'm kind of a fan of him. I mean, he was in The Gate when he was a little kid, so I'll always have a special love for Steven Dorff. He's been in our genre for forever, so I liked him. I thought he did a good job. The actors, for the most part, all do a good job. Jessica Madsen, I think is her name. She's a standout as one of the kids. She's the blonde girl. She's a standout. She was really cool. But yeah, overall, just doesn't seem to work for me. In the end, I'm not going to go into spoilers at all, because one of the few joys of the movie, I guess, is trying to figure out who did it. But very quickly you'll figure it out. And I mean quickly in the way that it's like, okay, here's the thing. The movie keeps the whodunit game going long after there are not enough suspects left for it to be a whodunit. You know what I mean? Like, there comes a point in the movie where there's only two characters left, our final girl and one of the other people, and it's firmly established that the final girl isn't going to grow up to be Leatherface. So we now know that this other person is Leatherface. There's a process of elimination. There's nobody left who could be it. But the movie still doesn't reveal that until later. And then later has the balls to have a reveal scene where it's like, and here you go, let me introduce you to blah blah blah. And it's just like, come on, filmmakers, like, when you do something like that, like, it would have been much better to, like, reveal it way beforehand, you know, get ahead of the audience, not way behind them. But overall, I mean, like I said, it really wasn't bad, and it was pretty entertaining. I only felt like I wanted to fast forward it like once, which isn't bad. So I would give it a good 6 out of 10. You know, it's not bad. It's just going to be very disappointing, unfortunately. Have to just tell you that right now. But if you go into it thinking it's just going to be ridiculously disappointing, you'll be pleasantly surprised, because it's not that bad. But anyway, just wanted to get my fairly immediate reaction out into you guys. So I'll see you later on, and I will try and do reviews for most of the stuff that I'm watching nowadays. So anyway, this is Mike for Fright Flicks. I'll see you later, guys.